Hey guys, what's up? Eddie Yahoo here with KissAnalog.com. Guys, today I just want to do a quick video to show you several different versions of a tracking power supply and kind of discuss what that is, kind of show you how it works, okay? There are power supplies with multiple outputs. It used to be, and I have an older HP back here, that you'd have a power supply with two outputs. Now, I did a video like this just not too long ago showing you how to use a lab power supply, single output. Well, dual outputs are awesome because you can track them. What does that mean? That means you can put them in series, and if you want, say, a plus or minus 20 volts, 30 volts, something like that, and you want a variable, you can use one knob or one set of controls that they call master usually, and that'll adjust both outputs at the same time. They both go from 0 to, say, 25 volts up at the same time, okay? And there's some other features. I want to go over that and show you. I've got this matrix. This guy right here looks totally different than this Uni-T, if you can see that through this guy back here. So this guy has what they call 4 outputs. We're going to talk about that. The two outputs are the main outputs, and then they add a third, you know, now they're adding a fourth, okay? So, but anyways, so you got one that looks like this, one that looks like that. You got this matrix up here, totally different than this matrix, and it's kind of the old school, more like this one. So this one's a GW Instek, okay? And I got the Tektronix, which, from what I understand, GW Instek made that Tektronix. If you don't know who GW Instek is, it's the same guys that scope is made. It's they're Taiwan company, okay? But anyway, so this one, programmable buttons on front. This one has knobs. They work a little differently. I want to show you that. And then we have the old HP up here too. And then we have these two. So I'm going to show you just briefly each one, and if you're actually looking for one, this might help you kind of see what kind of features and how they work and what you might like best. But I want to show you how they work, okay? So I'm going to bring the camera over here. Let's jump into this. All right, before we get into the tracking or the dual outputs, I just want to show you these are two individual power supplies, right? Plus minus, you know, there's a ground that you can tie to either one because these are floating outputs, they're not referenced to anything. There's a current and voltage knob, okay, and a power on. Pretty basic. So when you turn on power, if the voltage is turned on, that's what you're going to get on the output, okay? So usually I start at 0 and then I bring it up, all right? And so this one here, if you wanted to bring them both and use them plus minus 20 volts, you could say, like batteries, you could stack them on top of each other in series and say this is going to be my top battery, so plus minus, minus to plus, and plus to minus. So this would be the negative, and then this, the connection between these would be in between. So let's say it's plus minus 20 volts. You'd get this would be the ground, these two, this connection. This would be the minus 20 and this would be the plus 20. Then you'd have to use both hands and bring them up together, and that'd be the way you'd manually track. So you can do that if you have two power supplies. You know, this way you can get a plus minus 20 volt power supply without having a tracking power supply. Okay guys, so this HP 6227B dual power supply, okay? So that's, I'm just showing you this as a starter because it's your basic power supply. Now, let me show you. You have your two outputs, okay? And in this case, they have this little line across here. It says connect for tracking. So you do this plus and that minus. So in tracking mode, when you come down here, it says tracking, then you get the output of this one and the output of this one together, okay? Now this power supply, it says goes up 25 volts and then up to 30 in the gray area and up to 2 amps or 2.4. I don't have it turned on because there's a problem. We're going to troubleshoot this in the video, okay? But the meter, you can go volts or amps, so you have to select one or the other. Now, what I like to do if I'm tracking, since I know both power supplies are going to be, say, if I set it to 20 volts, they're both going to be 20. So I like to put one at current and one at volts. Kind of a trick, you know, so that way you can watch current and voltage at the same time. Okay, so you got your plus minus outputs, and you have your ground if you want to tie it to plus or minus, because these are floating. Okay, and so the current and the voltage, there's two knobs because one's for fine and one's for coarse adjustment. Okay, so this totally analog, of course, all analog. You just move these guys, and yeah, not programmable, but just totally analog. Okay, that's just what I want to show you as, you know, the beginning of where these tracking power supplies kind of look like. Okay. Okay, I'll show you these two power supplies kind of together. The GW Instek. Now, most power supplies, by the way, the one up there was 25 to max 30, right? The old HP. Most of these power supplies will be in that range, 30 volts. That's a very common output, okay? So this one is 30 volts, 3 amps each line. So what if you need 20 volts at 6 amps? Well, you can do it because you can put them in parallel, okay? And so in parallel, you push both these buttons in. And see, now it's in parallel. One's saying constant current, one's saying constant voltage, okay? So now what I can do is, this is the master, so I can bring the voltage up, and then I can only go up to, it'll let me go over 30, so 31.6. And it's constant voltage because it's regulating voltage, okay? And then once now these meters, I can look at voltage on both sides, okay? So it's showing me the voltage. But just like I showed you the trick up there, I'll put one in current. So now I can look at current and look at voltage. Now, if in parallel, and this says 2 amps, I know I got 4 amps because I got 2 amps on each side, okay? But if I'm operating series mode with this button in and that one out, now they're in series, so now they're both constant voltage, okay? And I can do the same thing. I can look at voltage on both of them, or I can use one to monitor current, and then I can see voltage and current. They're in series, so this time the current would be the same, and this would be the master for the voltage, okay? Same thing, you got the plus minus output, and then a ground in between, okay? You don't, now these green grounds, I rarely ever use those, almost never. All right, so this is the power supply where they started, you know, this is the kind of power supply where they started saying 3 outputs. Oh, we got your 2 outputs, plus we're gonna give you 5 volts, 3 amps max. Maybe you have a digital circuit you want 5 volts on, and you have an amplifier you need plus or minus 20 or 30 volts. So you can use this for your plus or minus 30, and you can use this for your 5 volts fixed output, okay? So there's no controls on this power supply for this guy, it's just a fix. When they first started coming out with 3 output power supplies, that's kind of the way they did it. So the same thing with this one, except for this one's, because it's all programmable, this one, the output, you can go from 0 to 6 volts, 5 amps, okay? But the output on the 1 and 2 output is only good for 25 volts. Well, it's actually, I think it's actually 20 volts at 2.5 amps, okay? So this one has a bunch of programmable buttons, and you adjust it that way. I'm not going to take all the time to do that, but you can set volts and current, and set your current limit, your volts limits. And right here it says we're in series mode. I can go to parallel mode and set it all up that way. It says if I'm in constant voltage. So it just takes a little more time to show you. You know, you can punch in the numbers, say 20 volts, 20, enter, okay? But you can also use the arrows to go up, see, going up, or push that like that, or go down. So that's programmable one. So you can program it to do certain voltages and even step between voltages. So that's another style, okay? I just kind of want to give you the basic styles and what some of the advantages and features are. A disadvantage of this one is that maybe if you're bringing up voltage slow, you're kind of doing it this way. It might take forever. On a knob, you might be able to go a little faster. But yeah, so just different ways to do essentially the same thing, okay? But again, this is programmable. So this one, once you set up your voltages, then they're out here all the time. Once you bring up your voltage, it's coming out, okay? Where on this guy, you program it, and then you say, okay, output on. And then it puts the output, you know, it actually puts the voltage here. When you do this, when you turn it off, now it's just for setting it up. There's no voltage there. I love having an output button. But I bought this one, and then I had to buy this one because that one just didn't have enough voltage. I wanted at least 30 volts, so I went to this. So now I can go 60 volts to 3 amps or 30 volts at 6 amps. You know, you can either series or parallel, right? Or you can use them independently and have a -3 and a +20. All right, so above the GW is this matrix. And this one's 30 volts at 5 amps. So now I can, instead of just going to 6 amps, like the one down here, now I can go all the way up to 10 amps. So I can go up to, say, 30 volts at 10 amps total, okay? And again, it has 3 outputs. The third one is a fixed 5 volt, 3 amp, okay? So it's a lot like the GW. It's not adjustable. And now you have one knob for voltage, one knob for current, and you can push it and adjust it. And it's hard to see that in the camera, so sorry about that. But it's going, yeah, this green is really hard to see. And even in person, it's on the dim side. It used to be brighter from what I understand, and people complained, so they dimmed it down, but I think they dimmed it way too low. So anyway, it's hard to see what I'm doing here, but I can adjust the voltage up and down real fast, just like I could here. And then I can push it. Now, these knobs, it's like an analog pot, but I can hear the relays clicking. Okay, I had to include the GW so I could show you, but this knob feels like an analog pot. It could be a digital encoder, but I can hear relays clicking. Maybe you can hear them in the camera. This one, I don't hear that. It just rotaries up, but it really, yeah, I was trying to listen if I hear relays. I don't, but it just swings up and down, okay? And so it goes to the, so it's kind of like an analog fill. You don't hear the relays clicking around, but yeah, so that's how that goes. See, I can show you, actually, I guess I can show you by moving the current. So, because that's easier to see. So you can see how you can move the knob like an analog knob, and then you can push it for coarse adjustment right there, 5 amps, or fine tune like that, okay? Then a long push, it says right here, long push. Now I can set current limit. Maybe I know I don't want, I never want to see, I don't want to accidentally allow more than 3 amps through. So I could go 3 amps, okay? And then, okay, fine. So now it's set. So if I'm adjusting voltage and stuff, if something happens, current will not go above 3 amps. So real easy setup, okay? Series, it says connect plus a minus. So there's my, let's say if I want a total of 50 volts, I got 25 on this one, 25 on that one, it'd be plus to minus. And internally, it's going to connect these two. So now I don't have to connect them like on the older power supply, right? So now it's pretty cool. Just internally, it says series. Use this one, this one. And parallel, then use the master. And right here on channel 2, it says master. So then instead of the 2 buttons like we had down here, now it has this button right here. And when it's off, they're independent. I can adjust these things separately, like they're 5.23 amps. But then if I put them in series, the green light comes on, it says series. Now I have 1 current reading on 1 voltage. So it makes it easier, okay? And then parallel, it's the red one, it says parallel. And now I got 1 current reading, 1 voltage reading. So that makes it a lot easier. And then as far as like I preferred on the Tektronix power supply down there, is when you actually want to engage the voltage here at the terminals, then you just put output 2. And then now it's showing this one is on the output, nothing, okay, 0 amps, nothing's flowing. And that's showing the setup when I turn off the outputs, okay? So if you're in parallel, you only have to push the 1, or in series, you know, the master, you could just push the the one, okay? But you can also operate them independently. So you'd have to turn that one on. See, it's constant voltage, and now it's constant voltage. They're both 0, waiting for something to be, some current to be pulled out of these. So turn it back off, and it goes back to the setup. Okay, so that, you know, very nice power supply. I like the way this operates. It's just, you know, they've just thought about things and made them better and better. Okay, guys, now the matrix. This is the MPS 3033X. This is a 30 volt, two 30 volt outputs at 3 amps, or you got 6 volts at 3 amps. So this is like the Tektronix. You can actually adjust the third one. You can set up each channel individually. That's really cool. And it says channel 1, channel 2, channel 3 here. So this one kind of gives you the best of both worlds, because now you have a knob that I can sit here and adjust that voltage, right? Now, if I push the knob multiple times, it goes to the digit that I want to do. So that's how I can do coarse, by doing this one. Okay. Or I can push it, say I can push it on 3 and I'm back down 0 in a jiff, or back up. Okay. Or I can push it where I'm just adjusting this one and say, I want to be 31.95. So I can come down and get it right on. So I've got this kind of analog kind of control, but I can also say, oh, actually I wanted that to be 16.23. So I can go 16.23 and then enter. So I've got the programmable one, like the Tektronix down there, plus I have the analog control knob. So I really like this. And you also can use this to move things around too, your cursor around, okay? So it says meter here. So if I go to meter, it's just showing me what's actually at the output, which is nothing. So, and this is the setup mode, okay? But I also have that on-off button. See, now it's put all the voltage on the outputs. It's kind of showing me a signal right here, showing like, okay, they're on, and then I can say off, okay? You can also turn on and off each one individually too. So I can program it really easy using these knobs or this. There's a channel button right here. Yeah, so that's channel 2. And then that's channel 3. So, yeah, this power supply, you know, it's so nice. I really like the setup and how it operates and everything. So that's actually been one of my favorites. Okay, so what I want to do is I just want to show you that if you go to Shift menu, you get a system setup, configuration. This is where you can use this thing, and you can go to this combination thing. And so you got independent, series, parallel, or this tracking. And series parallel work just like you would think, just like we've done the other ones. But it has tracking, so it's kind of interesting, because you're like, well, series parallel are tracking, so what's up with this one? Well, that's why I wanted to show you this one. It's kind of a special one. Okay, track set complete. So if I go to channel 2 and then oops, do I hit enter? So if I want to move this over to channel 2, see the arrow's right there. If I push this, it goes to channel 2. And if I start bringing this voltage up and I'm moving that decimal spot, you see how it moves that one, it tracks it with this one. So they're not the same voltage this time like they would be in series or parallel. Now they're operating with 2 different voltages. So maybe I want to have one, you know, I want to make them track as they go up like 1 volt at a time, but I want them set at different voltages. So yeah, that's just an interesting, that's why I wanted to show you that. That was just kind of an interesting option on this one. Okay guys, so this is Uni-T UDP 3305S. So yep, you guessed it, 33 volts, 5 amps. So that's pretty cool. Now, what I want to show you on this power supply is, you know how there used to be just dual tracking power supplies. So you have your 2 outputs, your dual outputs, the ground's right here in the middle. And we have our third output, like we've seen before, 0.5 volts. at 3 amps, okay? And it has a little light here showing it's constant voltage or constant current, so that's pretty cool. So if it goes into constant current mode, like short circuiting, it'll give you a red light showing you that. And you have these lights on each one of these, okay? So that's kind of cool. It's also going to show you up here in this display. Very nice display. All right, so this one's called a 4 output because it also has a USB output. So you also get 5 volts at 2 amps out there. So just, you know, kind of cool. They just want to one-up the next company and say, we got 4 outputs. But we got our screens are really nice here. We got volts, current, and watts, okay? On the top 3 on each one. Okay. All right, guys. So as far as setting this thing up, you got all 3 channels turned on. You can see them all. I can turn them all off and they go blank. You don't see them, okay? So this is how you turn them on, or you can turn on each one individually, okay? And if you want to adjust one, you hit that button, okay? And so now I see, it's kind of hard to see maybe in the camera, but that's the voltage kind of highlighted. I've got the voltage right there, or the current. So I can set voltage and dial it up. Whoops, I maxed out already. And it says you've reached a max. Okay, I've got the limit set for 33. So I come over here and say over voltage protection, I want to drop that down to say 10 volts or something. So you set over current, which are these 2 guys, and you set the voltage and current what you want to run to at those 2. And when you get ready to turn it on, well, like, then you can turn it on right here, and then it highlights and shows you what's at the terminals, 30 volts, 0 amps, okay? So, yeah, so that's how you can set up each one of these guys. You know, if I select channel 2, it's yellow, channel 3, kind of purple. But yeah, so that's really cool. That's just another way to do it. And then you use this guy down here to come down to your voltage, okay? And then I can adjust it down, or I can adjust it up. I can use this arrow to go over to the more coarse adjustment. Okay, now channel 3, I can only go to 5 volts. Okay, so I come over to channel 2 and say, okay, I want to set voltage. So I'll go voltage, and I can move that cursor over, and I reach max at 33. So I'm going to move the cursor over this way, go down slower. So I've got the knob, plus I got the buttons, okay? So like that, like the Matrix power supply, right? So that's pretty cool. Now, you know, so you got some programmability on it. And also channel 3, there's 4 fixed voltages, and you can go right here, channel 3 button. The first one's 1.8, 2.5, 3.3, or 5 volts. So that's how you can set this one up, okay? Pretty nice setup. You know, you can choose the main voltages you might want to choose. But yeah, so that is the Uni-T. So just want to show you how these different ones work. Now down here under bottom it says series. That's my negative and that's my plus. And then internally it's going to tie those 2 things together. And for parallel, you use channel 1. Just come off here, okay? So that's pretty cool. Okay, guys, I hope that gave you an idea of how tracking power supplies or multiple output power supplies can be used. The main feature is series parallel connections. Otherwise, you can get multiple different individual power supplies that might be different sizes and wattages and voltages. It's easier to find different voltages than it is in the multiple output power supplies. Most of them, as you saw, they operate around 30 volts. And I believe it's because of the safe low electrical voltage requirements. It's a SELV, safe. So SELV is S-E-L-V, safe electrical low voltage. So that says, like, you know, 30 volts range is safe. And I think that's why they might limit it to that, because it seems like a lot of them hit that line. So that's why, like, I had to get these 2 guys, goes up to 60 volts, 5 amps. Now I know you can get some dual output power supplies that have higher voltages, especially nowadays. There seems to be some more options. But if you notice, they're more expensive and there's not as many options, right? So just wanted to point that out. Another thing to think about is when they talk about wattage, right? So they might say it's a 200 watt or 300 watt or 400 watt. So if you say you have two 30 volt outputs and they're 5 amps each, you could go, well, that's 30 volts times 10 amps. So that's a 300 watt power supply. But they might say 350 because you get some extra wattage from other outputs. So when they talk about how much wattage a power supply is, you got to remember that's summing all the outputs together. So generally it's a better idea to think of the voltage or current instead of wattage. But be mindful of wattage because that could be meaningful. Sometimes in power supplies, especially these days, especially in single output power supplies, it's even more common. They might say, hey, this is 60 volts, say 100 volt output power supply, 10 amps. Well, 100 times 10 is 1,000 watts, but it might claim 400 watts. You're like, wait, that doesn't work. Well, that's because there's this power curve. So you can only get 400 watts max, but you can go as high as 100 volts and as high as 10 amps, but not together. Okay, so just wanted to give you a little background on power supplies, bench power supplies. So if you're out selecting, I've had people commenting and asking me these questions. So I just wanted to see if I could answer more of them in a video like this, where you can actually see the different variations. This kind of footprint is kind of a more common one, and it's really nice because it gives power levels and everything. I also really like this one, the matrix. So I like the form factor, the smaller form factor, and I love the fluorescent display. It's really cool. So, but yeah, the matrix, really very nice power supply as well. I mean, both these matrix, but you can see how different they are. So I like this one because you get a little bit of the programmability and the knobs. So I got to learn more about the Uni-T, some of the programmable functions and stuff like that to see what the difference might be between these guys. But yeah, they're both, well, this one can go to 5 amps. That's the kind of a big thing about this one. I could go plus minus 30 at 5 amps, where this one plus minus 30 at 3 amps is more limiting, especially when I'm doing amplifiers, right? So that's, you know, but there you go, guys. Hey, by the way, that iTech power supply up there, this little guy, if you can see it in the camera, I have 2 of those. I gotta pull one out of a box and show it to you. They actually gave me those power supplies so I could put 2 together like this. About the same time I was getting those, I got this one. Those are 60 volts, 8 amps, 180 watts. So that's one of the things I was talking about. 180 watts max, but 60 volts at 8 amps. So, you know, but yeah, these Amtrix were expensive power supplies, and I just kind of lucked into those and I bought those. They were still kind of expensive. I think I paid $500 or $600 for the 2 of them, which is about a quarter of what they're worth. I mean, what they sold for, or even less than that probably. It was a really good deal. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. 2 big thumbs up to my patrons, my YouTube members, Danny for being a team member. Really appreciate all you guys. Thanks for watching. Free way to support channels, just like the video. Share it. Subscribe if you haven't done so. Really want to build up the subscription rate. If you think you're subscribed, double check. Look down below, because I've heard YouTube unsubscribes people. I don't know why. Maybe I don't. But anyway, yeah, just verify that. If it says subscribe, it means you're not subscribed. Okay? All right, guys. Hey, thanks for watching. Long weekend. Got some videos out, though. Hope you like them. And oh, and one last thing. If there's something, one of these power supplies that you want to see something in particular, then that would be great. I'll show you that part of the power supply. You know, there's things about how to use these power supplies I can show you too, that they've become so much easier to use. But this old HP back here, guys, I'm gonna have to fix that do a repair on that. One channel works, one channel doesn't. Hopefully it's something simple. We'll have to repair it on the channel. And then after that, I'll probably just sell it. Get rid of it. I want to get rid of a bunch of these older power supplies back here and some of this other equipment I've got here. And I need to do a review on the solar output array. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.